Welcome back to day 5 for the 100 horror films in 31 days. I got in 5 films. Actually, I got in 6 films. Take that back. Pretty good day. A lot of watching. First up, I watched a film that was actually a mistake. I wanted to watch The Depraved with Larry Fessenden, and I found The Depraved on YouTube. And I just started watching it. Well, it turns out that what I was watching was Urban Explorer 2011, directed by Andy Fleischer. And has nothing to do with The Depraved, the Fessenden film. But anyway, the titles, that's what it was called on YouTube. So, false advertising. I liked it. I liked Urban Explorer. It's a 2011 film about some kids that are basically kind of a travelogue. They end up going underneath some tunnels under the subway in Berlin and meet up with this crazed maniac, that German maniac that basically captures a couple of them, tortures them. I mean, it's a brutal, tense film, particularly with them trying to escape from this guy and get out of the tunnel. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how good it was. I give it a 7 out of 10. Let's see. I think that was my rating. Yeah, 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Andy Fletcher hasn't done... he only has one other screen credit, Bucharest Fleisch. So that's about it with him. Next up was a painful watch. 1982's Boarding House. Now, this was a subset selection. I think today's or yesterday's theme was shot on video, shot on Shittio, and I think this one fits the bill and perfectly. Shot on Shittio. This is bad, man. And I've seen it 3 times now. When I first bought this, I watched it theatrical cut, and then I tortured myself with the 3-hour director's cut on here. I really was not going to go back to it, but since it was the pick of the day, I rewatched the theatrical cut, and it's bad. It's just like a home movie. It's like John Wintergate, who directed this and starred in it. He just shot this thing in his house with his wife, and it's just a series of badly composed, everyday kind of. It's just a running story of everyday occurrences within their house, and then all of a sudden you have something supernatural happen, which the extent of the supernatural is just a couple camera effects, a black glove, and maybe someone throws some ketchup against the wall. Or I mean, it's bad, just bad all the way around. I will give the guy credit, though. I mean, he did this before shot on video was even a thing, so you got to give it to him for that. I mean, but yeah, this was a very self-indulgent film from John Wintergate and his wife. But hey, he did it before anybody else, so can't be too critical. But yeah, this is a film that I would be willing to sell this. Get it out of the collection, quite honestly. I'm never going to go back to this again. I'm just not. I give it a 2 out of 10. Next up, I'm going to talk about Hospital Massacre, or X-Ray. This is the 88 film's release. Barbi Benton stars in this film. She's back in the early 80s, late 70s, she was a Playboy Playmate. Gorgeous. I mean, and there's a scene in this where she's basically, the doctor's kind of, quote, examining her, and the camera and the doctor spend a good 5-10 minutes examining her, every orifice. So yeah, it's one of those. 1981, directed by Bose Davidson. I think the only thing that he did that I recognized was Last American Virgin. He directed that. Mainly he directs lighthearted comedies. I think this was the only horror or slasher credit in his director. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty decent. It's a hospital slasher. Barbi Benton gets goes in for a routine checkup at the hospital, and for really reasons that were never fully explained, the doctors and the nurses prevent her from leaving. Now, and I think this is kind of funny because I work in healthcare, but if she really wanted to leave, she could have left. I mean, you don't see but two nurses and this doctor the whole time in the film, and then you've got the killer dressed up as a doctor roaming the hallways freely. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous, but again, it's a slasher. You just got to kind of throw logic out the window on it. So it's a decent film. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. This has an audio. This edition has an audio commentary with Callum Waddle and Justin Kurzweil. Next up is a couple other painful watches. I bought this set a long time ago and decided I would watch Bloody Murder 1 and 2. Bloody Murder 2000, directed by Ralph Portillo, who apparently it's kind of a fan film of Friday the 13th. I mean, it's a direct-to-video Friday the 13th copycat. I mean, it's down to characters and everything. I mean, they've even got the old man that warns the kids, hey, look out for, don't come here, be careful. It's that kind of thing. So it's badly acted, horrible acted. Acting is horrible in this. And the kills, I mean, for a film like this, what I don't understand is if Ralph was a big fan of Friday the 13th, or horror movies in general, and he wanted to make this tribute, if you want to call it a tribute or a ripoff, take your pick. One of the things everybody knows is have good kills. I mean, if you're going to do a film like this, make sure you have good kills. If you don't have that, you got nothing. And so, and what do we get here? We get a bunch of series of kills where you have a shot of the killer. You have a shot of the weapon. You have a shot of the victim, and then everything is off screen. You might see a splattering of blood hit the ground, or the aftermath of a knife with blood on it. But focus at least on what attracts people to these movies. But he didn't. It's just horribly acted, and the kills suck. I mean, so I don't know what the point was. I give it a 2 out of 10. Bloody Murder 2, however, was good. Shockingly good. I was blown away. I guess Bloody Murder must have been successful to some degree, because the production values went up. There actually were some decent kills in Bloody Murder 2. Again, it's the same. It's just the Friday the 13th copycat. The storyline, kids at a camp. You've got a killer running around, and then you find out at the end what the motive was, and there's usually some twist where one of the characters that you were supposed to trust is the killer. You know the drill. But it was good. It was well acted. I mean, not great acting, but it was, for that kind of a shot on video film, it was decent acted, good direction, and actually interesting kills. So this is Bloody Murder 2. Is what Bloody Murder should have been. I mean, it was directed by somebody else, though, Rob Spera, who also did one of the Leprechaun films. So, I mean, maybe Ralph just didn't cut out for being a director, Yeah, Bloody Murder 2, I give it a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. By the way, that was like 2 years later that they shot that. So. Next up is a masterpiece, and that is Suspiria. This is the 4K Severin release that I've had for quite a while. I've got 3 or 4, as probably most of you do, copies of Suspiria in different editions. The 4K looked beautiful. I mean, quite honestly though, I mean, unless you're the 4K scan, I mean, I think some of the Blu-rays looked good, but yeah, it's pristine. It looks fantastic, and it's just a masterpiece. It's certainly probably one of the five, definitely top 10 horror movies of all time, maybe top five of all time. It's not my number one. Exorcist is my number one, but it's certainly in the top five. It's a masterpiece, and it's Dario Argento's masterpiece. There's not much else I need to say about this, but it was a great watch, and I'm glad I got this release. I'm not a big fan of steelbooks, but this is pretty nice. It's also got a soundtrack right there. So yeah, that was my watches for day 5. If you have any thoughts or comments you want to leave below, please feel free to do so. Thanks.